Hi, everyone. Welcome to this ABC Wisdom Hour. My name is George Cao, and I'm the founder of the Authentic Business Community. That's what ABC stands for. And I am honored to be facilitating this very first ABC Wisdom Hour. Now, this is something that we hope to be doing on a regular basis. And so you'll get to participate and listen to short, powerful talks to up-level your life, your business, your health. And so the first thing I'd love for you to do, if you're watching this right now, is to chat on the right-hand side. And I already see Karen there, and Jason, and Nav, and Steven. So thank you so much for chatting. So again, on the right, if you're live with us, then on the right-hand side of the video is the chat. If you're watching this on a replay, then you can chat below the video. So what I would love for you to do, whether you are watching this live or on a replay, is to be chatting throughout this, this talk. And the reason why is because when you chat, it really energizes us as speakers. You know, you may have grown up hearing that you shouldn't pass notes in class. Well, let me tell you that this is opposite here. I would love for you to chat throughout the rest of this hour. Chat anything that's resonating with you, anything you're hearing, a word, a phrase, a question, an idea that's resonating with you. Just type a few words into the chat and let us know. Press enter to submit your chat. And in fact, right now, if you'd like to chat and let us know where you are watching this from in the world, we would love to know. All right, so let me go ahead and share with you who's speaking, very briefly, and I'll give their bio before they actually speak, but I'll just name the talks you're going to hear today. So Karen McMullen is going to start us off, and her talk is called Enough is Enough, How to Drop the Stress of Excess Spending, Time, Energy, and Money in Business. And I guarantee you this will shift your perspective about business. Stephen Dynako is going to tell us about how to be courageously authentic, how to dance like nobody's watching, and how to apply that to your professional life, how to be truly courageous so you can be authentically you in your profession. And then actually Halal wasn't able to join us. We had some technical issues, so we apologize to Halal and to all of you for that. But Rino is going to round us out with a talk on energy abundance, the holistic keys to turbocharge your life force. And he has a lot of experience in this area, and he's going to really wow you and up level your health by what he shares with us. So without further ado, I am going to bring on Karen, and let me just give you her bio here. And as you can see, since this is our very first time, I'm learning how to MC such an event. So Karen works with leaders, CEOs, business owners, and coaches who feel bogged down by the demands of success and staying profitable. She teaches an amazing framework called Human Design, which is a new approach to navigating daily life and business for alignment, simplicity, and ease. So Karen, thank you so much for being here and being our very first Wisdom Hour speaker.
There we go. Can you hear me?
All right, yes.
Thank you, George. It's such an honor to be a part of your community. And man, you're so awesome. I love you so much. And it's going to be fun. So my name's Karen McMullen, and welcome to this talk, Enough is Enough. By the end of our time together, you will get more clients. You're going to 10x your business, double your profits, make 6 figures in 60 days, create $1 million business, build your dream team, get your dream home, drive a Tesla, go on your dream vacation with your dream spouse. You're going to share your mission with the masses. You're going to get more speaking gigs, get recognized, enhance your stage presence. You're going to be happier, healthier, more blissful, more attractive. You will be more than you currently are. You will have more than you currently have. That is my promise to you. I'm just joking. You may not get the chest. So we live in a culture of excess, and everywhere we are being sold the idea that more is better, that what is currently is not enough. And the promise of more sells. It sells really well. If I tell you that I will help you get more clients, if I tell you that I will help you make more money, if I tell you that I will make you, more beautiful and you're feeling not beautiful, then there's a very human impulse towards buying that fantasy. And the most successful business mentors in the personal growth industry know this. And they may have started out in a mission to really share some heartfelt, genuine wisdom that they have and genuine skill set. They may have been a healer or have a gift with providing transformational coaching. But somewhere along the way, many of them have realized that it's a lot easier to sell people the promise of more. And so when you package what you offer in the promise of more, that pays the bills and it fills the seats. And this is what I discovered. When I started my coaching business, it was very hard for me to get clients. I was living in Vancouver. I could hardly pay my rent. It was such a struggle. And so I, sought out guidance on how to market and how to sell. And I learned how to, position what I have to offer in a way that would make it easier for people to buy. And so good at that I was, traveling around, selling from the stage. My business grew. I did create the 6-figure business. And then I found that what really sold well was to teach people how to sell. So when you promise people that you can teach them how to sell, then, that was like selling like hotcakes. So I see this sort of trend happening a lot among transformational leaders, is that they may have started out with one intention, but because people want to buy this promise of more, they end up selling what people want to buy. So I mastered the art of selling the promise of more, and I got more as a result. You can do that too, if you want, and it really works. But by year 5 in business, I had everything I wanted. And most of the time, I just wanted to lie on the couch and drink a glass of wine. I was exhausted. I was stressed. I was worried. I had headaches. I didn't sleep well. And at the same time, I had convinced myself that I was happy because I didn't realize the incredible burden and terrible price that I was paying for having more. The price of more is that I was getting less of what actually matters. I had less joy. I had less vitality. I had less genuine peace of mind, and I'd actually built myself my own prison that I was comfortably suffocating within. And that is until I began to question more. And I started to experiment with this radical approach to the essential, nothing more than what is essential. And really that looks like loss and letting go. So I sold all my stuff. I left my relationship. I stopped all but the most essential business activities. So I stopped marketing. I didn't email my mailing list. I mean, in the past 2 years, I think I've emailed them 3 times. And I moved to Mexico. And in this process, I've discovered an incredible freedom in in losing more and in having less, in doing less and being less of what I thought I should be. So since then, I kind of lived like a monk for a couple of years, and then I decided, okay, well, now I'm ready to start sharing, and working in my business again, and it's been really interesting to see. It's like, how do I sell less? Come work with me and you'll have less. You'll be less of what you think you should be, less. So how much can I charge for that? So the promise of more will continue to sell well because it's what we want to hear and it's what we want to buy, and it will keep being sold to us until we stop buying it. So how can you actually stop buying the promise of more? This is what I see. I see that we buy the promise of more because we currently want more than what we have. So I may want more money. I may want more beautiful, radiant skin than what I have. A lawyer recently pointed out. Hi. Oops, something. Oh, Hilal, you're on. You found your way. Sorry. So yeah, a lawyer friend of mine recently pointed out that the verb want actually has a built-in implied lack. So in legal terms, if they say this case wants for evidence, that means it lacks evidence. So there's a built-in lack whenever we want something. And this reminded me of the biblical saying, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." So you actually want for nothing. You lack nothing. Everything that is actually required for you in this moment to have a full and true existence is provided right here, right now. If something's not readily supplied to you in this moment, let's say it looks like you have less money than you think you should, then that is not actually necessary. What is necessary is being supplied. Now, you may not believe me on that one, but that's something that I've come to realize is what is enough. Whatever is showing up in your current reality is enough. No matter what your bank account says, no matter what story your own mind tells you. Lack, lie. It is not the truth. And the truth is there is no lack. There is only what is right now. And, until you die, what is enough for you to survive and be taken care of in that moment. Most business owners are moved into action by lack, by wanting and desiring more than what is in this moment. And so, on one hand, there's a desire for more, and on the other hand, there's this lack that's motivating and them into action. And, that was certainly true for me starting out in business and, for pretty much the lifetime of my business. Underneath that lack and that desire for more is fear. It's a fear that I'm not going to be okay. I'm not going to be taken care of. That what is right now isn't sufficient. So my dare to you and my invitation to you is that next time you're moved to do something in your business, notice what's driving you. And if it is lack, instead of moving, don't move. Be still. Sit and squirm in the terrible discomfort of what you perceive that you lack, and just feel it. Let that feeling of lack permeate your whole being and marinate in it, for however long it takes until you realize that there is no lack. And And that will happen if you sit there long enough. Sometimes it might take a few days. I was recently overcome with this terrible survival fear, and it was so familiar to me. It was a very similar feeling to how I felt at the beginning of my business when 8 years ago when I lived in Vancouver and I had no idea how to make money or how to get clients. And I, rather than move into action from that place, which would have been very easy to do. I mean, my mind was racing. It was saying, go do this. You could make money this way. You could do this. You could do that. And I could have gotten myself very busy. But instead, I spent about 2 days feeling the terrible discomfort of this fear, this primal survival fear. And, then it went away. And it's a lot more fun to be doing life and work from a place of, enjoying what is than feeling lack. So if you feel lack and you want to move forward, sit still, do not move. And that'll cure us. It'll cure us from buying more, the promise of more, the lie of more, the illusion of more, and allow us to just enjoy enough is enough right now. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Karen. I've been seeing all these wonderful chats showing up.
But I wasn't looking at them because
it's good. You're focused on your message. For those who are watching the replay, I will actually put the chat transcript in the description of the video because I don't think it shows up automatically under the video after the live broadcast is over. But yeah, you're getting a lot of applause there, Nick, Karen.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so before we move on to the next speaker, Karen, where can people contact you if they have questions, further, comments on what you've shared, and is there anything else you want to share with us?
Well, I actually really loved this topic. It just kind of came to me, in a surprising moment. And I decided I'd like to share more about this. So I'm going to do a longer talk on it. And it's literally called Enough is Enough. It has the exact same title. And you can register for that here. Oh,
you can just actually say out the link and then, yeah.
Okay, it doesn't work in the chat. The link is successrefuge.com. So that's successrefuge.com, Success Refuge. And yeah, I'm going to be sharing more about human design on that because what I found was just following, my nature and listening to the guidance of my design made it really obvious how to let go of all the excess. And I mean, I didn't have a plan for doing that. It just naturally happened when I started being really true.
Beautiful. I will be sure to put the link, of course, in the notes of the video. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you so much, George. That was fun.
That was great. And thanks everyone for the chats. Please do feel free to keep chatting. Any insights that came to you as a result of Karen's talk, any questions that you have for her. I will, of course, be sharing your questions and comments with the speakers. So next up, we've got Stephen Dynako, and here's his short bio. After a career in leadership, Stephen is now a courage builder. He helps successful, burned out professionals to rise again, inspired and purposeful. So Stephen, it's a pleasure to have you here, and when you're ready, take it away.
Great. Thanks, George. I feel like it's a good segue coming in from what Karen was talking about, because I'm going to be dovetailing off of some of those things she's talked about. I'm going to share my screen just for a moment.
Sure.
Because this is going to platform this for us. So actually the first question is, have you ever felt fear? There's 3 questions I'm going to ask you. The first one, have you ever felt fear? The second question is, have you ever felt proud? And then the third question is, have you ever been courageous? So just ponder those for a moment, and I'm going to take a guess that because you're all human beings, that you have felt these things and experienced these things before. You have felt fear, you have felt proud, and you've been courageous. So what I'm going to do in this talk is look at the evolutionary relationship among these three things: fear, pride, and courage. And when I say evolutionary, I mean it's about not only the survival of the body, but it includes the fulfillment of the soul. So the evolutionary relationship among fear, pride, and courage. So let's start with fear. You know, we learn fear to survive. Actually, in that sense, fear is useful to us. Fear is useful for protection of like the physical body. So think of like when you were a small child, and you know, we learned very quickly that you don't touch the hot stove because you can get hurt. So we're sort of taught to fear the hot stove, right? And then later on, we're taught to fear crossing the street in the middle. Like we're taught to use the intersection because that's the safer place to cross the street. And then another example would be like when we learn to drive, we become aware or fearful of hazardous conditions, right? So like if you live in an area where it gets below freezing, ice will form on bridges and it gets slippery. So fear really is providing us an awareness of threats to the physical body. And fear is wired in the reactive or the instinctive part of the brain. So if this is the brain, you know, kind of at the brain stem, there's this thing called the amygdala. And the amygdala is where fear is wired. Okay, so that's fear. So now let's move on to pride. We also learn pride. Just as we learn fear, we learn pride. But we learn pride to advance as productive human beings. So pride is a useful attribute for self-development. And again, let's go back to this childhood example of what I'll present here is this bringing home your report card, like when you're in first grade or second grade, and you know, hopefully you're getting good grades, and when you show that to your parents, they're proud of you, right? Or your grandparents will be proud of you because you have good grades on your report card. So, and then you have pride in yourself for that. And then throughout one's career, throughout school and career, we're always learning new skills, right? So, and pride is a way to sort of grease the skids so that we learn new skills. Like for instance, in my career, I worked in the communication media industry, and I started as a writer, but then I got into radio and I learned how to do audio production. And then later on, I went into multimedia, so I learned video production. So each time I learned a new skill, it was something to take pride in. And pride is wired in the thinking part of the brain. So whereas fear is wired in that reactive part of the brain, pride is wired in the thinking part of the brain, which is the prefrontal area, because we're premeditating outcomes. Like in order to build skills or to set goals, we're actually thinking about the steps that are needed to get there. So it's premeditated, and therefore it involves thinking instead of like instant reaction. Okay. Now the caveat with both pride and fear is that they become problems when they become the object of our work. So for instance, pride becomes a problem when it alone is the prize. So for instance, think about when you were in school, whether it was grade school or high school or even college, and you took a class in a subject that you just did not like. You know, and we all have our preferences, right? And we all have our strengths. So if you're in a class and you're taking something that you really don't like, it's really hard to get an A in that because you just don't feel motivated to do so. But maybe the A is a point of pride for you, so you work really hard to get the A. Now, but the rub is that you're suffering. You're suffering to get that A. So that's where pride becomes a problem. And then fear is a problem when it alone becomes the motivation, right? So for instance, let's put this in the context now of career. Let's say you work at a prestigious company, like one of the Fortune 500 companies, and it's a good job, but then over time you sort of get tired of that, but you stay there because it's a prestigious company. Let's say it's a good job with really good pay, and it looks good on your resume, and you have like really good status by working there, but you fear doing something different because you're going to lose all those things. So again, it's suffering, right? So if we're motivated by fear, it's a point, or it results in our suffering. Okay, so essentially what I'm getting at here is that pride and or fear can stifle our evolution if they become the object of what we're doing. Pride and or fear can prevent us from making transformative changes to evolve. And I'll give you a brief example of my own career, is that I worked for about 30 years in corporate America, and the last job I had was in the banking industry. And had a good job working for a good bank. But I was continually being drawn to doing helping work, and as George mentioned at my introduction, I work as a courage builder. So I help spark new life and purpose in that burnt-out professional who's striving to find more meaning and purpose in life. But I had my own fears about making that transition. Right, so my fear of leaving the corporate world and my job and my security was like, what will others think of me by making that move? I feared loss of relevancy. So if I leave the banking profession, am I no longer relevant as a professional? I feared the loss of my reputation and stature, and that includes my income, right? Because I was making decent money in that business. So pride and fear then can work together to keep us stuck. So being stuck doesn't feel good, okay? So then what do we need to get unstuck? And let me go back to the slides for a moment. So if we learn fear to survive, and we learn pride to advance in our life, we choose courage in order to evolve. So this is getting beyond the stuckness that fear and pride can put us in. We choose courage in order to evolve. And the root of the word courage means heart. So whether it happens all at like in one big bang, or gradually, like it did for me, your soul just is sort of gently going to be knocking and says to you, brain, allow me to introduce you to your heart, right? Because the heart has its own emotional, intuitive, and neural capacity, and much of that is stronger than those same capacities of the brain, and that's been scientifically proven. So when we exercise or practice courage, what we're doing is we're not putting aside the brain, we're not putting aside logic or intelligence, but we're integrating it. So the courage is actually this process of integrating the head with the heart. It's integrating the intelligence with the intuition. It's an integration of the logical and the emotional. Courage is an integration of the scientific and the spiritual, or what we might call the yin and the yang. So the heart is the source of courage in order to embark on meaningful pursuits, whether they be your career, self-development, or contributing to a better world. And the lovely thing about being courageous is that you don't lose anything. Like, courage is not subject to the notions of scarcity. And the courage that you express returns to you abundantly through your own self-fulfillment. And when I say self-fulfillment, it's not about being selfish. It's actually this realization that by being self-interested in my self-development, I'm actually interested in bringing everybody along with me. By encouraging myself, I am an example for others, and I encourage others. So choosing to be courageous is more than facing your fears, and it's not about stoking your pride. It's about putting yourself out there into the world to encourage others, so that they and all of us are inspired to rise together. And that's my message to you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So if you have any questions or comments for Stephen, please go ahead and chat that in the chat or comment below the video. And while you're doing that, Stephen, do you have anything else you'd like to say or share with us before we move on?
Sure. I would like to, well, as you'd mentioned in my introduction, I do courage building. So my gift to you is a free courage building a session.
Awesome.
So just an exploration of where you might use courage more intentionally and consciously in your life. So for those listening to this presentation, I've created a special webpage at my website, dynako.com/wisdomhour. And there's just a brief form just so that I can get your name, an email address, and then I'll contact you about setting up the time to connect with you. And then I would say in the meantime, while you're pondering that, I would say make a list of the things you want to shift or change in your life, and then notice where your fears and your pride comes up to sort of block you, or maybe triangulate you into a stuck place. And then just think about where you could just take minor steps to step outside of the comfort zone that your fear and your pride put you into. Mm. And then I'd be happy to talk about those things with you.
Yeah. And actually, there is a question for you, Stephen, by Liz. Thank you, Liz. Liz wrote, "The fear is usually generations old, and you and me as the last on the line get the most of that emotional heritage. How do you bring the courage into those layers?"
Yeah,
that's a question and a deep one.
That is a deep one. And if we had an hour,
yes, exactly,
I could get into a lot of the science behind all this. Yeah. But I will say what you're bringing up there is this idea of epigenetics, that we're influenced by our environment, including the past generations. So the short answer to that question would be just to become aware of, again, where you are feeling, where you're feeling afraid or stuck, and to just to sit with it. You know, don't be afraid of the fear. In a sense, maybe just embrace it and be kind to it, and then just consider where you might take the smallest step to go beyond that fear. So it's not about jumping off the cliff, but maybe it's about making one step to the edge.
Yeah, awesome.
And what could you do to help yourself in that way? And the fear is okay. It's not about like ignoring the fear, but it's about transforming yourself by recognizing you in your full humanness. That's the courageous act.
Beautiful. Thanks, Stephen.
You're welcome. Thank you, George.
All right. So next up, we've got Hilal. If we can, let's see if there's the technical issue has been fixed. Hello, Hilal. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, George?
Yes, I can hear you now. Oh, sometimes I can hear you. Okay, there's still too much of a technical issue.
Okay. I had a sponsorship on George. Would that be okay if I do it next time?
Absolutely, yes. Let's have you go next time. Thank you for trying to be here, and I apologize that we have these technical challenges here. All right. Okay, so so next time we'll hear from Hilal. She has a powerful message as well. So now I want to go over to Rino, and Rino is a holistic health specialist igniting higher potentials through biophotonic nutrition. That's a fascinating term. Turbocharging life force and expanding consciousness so that you can live a victorious life. Rino, thank you so much for being here, and I'm looking forward to your message.
Thank you. Hi. Well, I have a very different perspective on health than most people, and so my thing is your health is your fulcrum. It's your foundation to not only your career, your relationships, but it's your foundation to evolution. And I feel that unless and until we really honor and take care of our bodies as a sacred temple, we're not really going to be able to tap into our full potential. And so at the current rate, you know, I'm just presenting some basic facts, and I ask people is like, you know, we have more health information and more health paradigms than ever before, and yet we have the most amount of unhealthy, overweight, and unwell people than ever before. And so, you know, we have epidemics at hand, and it's getting worse and worse every year. So my question is where are all the fit, healthy, radiant people if all these health paradigms are so good? I see a lot of people teaching health, but I don't physically see it with my eyes. When I go to a health food store, I would think I would see healthy people there that would be blinging out. I call it blinging out, radiating, and I don't see that. So, and I'm aware of what's going on, and most people are not aware. And so there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I would like to just I think we need to use a higher consciousness level in going into health and making it our #1 priority. And touching on what Karen was saying, you know, a lot of people are making money #1 in career, and I think that's a dishonor to ourselves, but the planet as well. And I think until we knock money off of its pedestal and put health #1, because with health, you can then go out and be who you're meant to be. You can express yourself. You have higher feelings of happiness and joy. It's just a natural byproduct. But yeah, I don't see most people going at health that way. I've seen a lot of people spending a lot of money on their business and going to seminars and stuff. But when it comes to their health, I look at what they're doing nutritionally, and it's like, wow, we got to really start changing the way we go about health. So the main reason is, the way I'm looking at it is, our food supply is not nutritious. It's very devoid, but it's also altered. And a lot of people, you know, they think because they're eating organic, they're covered. And I would ask them to question that. I tell people, don't believe a word I say. I'm not here to be, you know, the expert or the know-it-all. However, I've done my homework, and I'm very intuitive. And so I know that when I walk into a food store and I'm looking at the organic produce, something doesn't feel right for me. It feels like it's plastic, and I'm going with a feel. There's a resonance. On Saturdays, I go to the farmer's market. Something is different with that produce. It looks wild. It looks awesome. It feels, there's a resonance to it. And when I put it in my body speaks to me. And that's the main thing I teach people is body wisdom and intuition. And those are the two holy grails that people are missing, because people think that there's a magic diet, a magic, you know, a magic supplement, a magic healthy way to go about life. There is none. There is the way for you, and you need to intuit that. What does it, you know, you need to use your body wisdom, as because your body's always giving you feedback as what is healthy for you and what's not. And what serves one person for health is not going to serve another person. It just doesn't work that way, you know. And so what I ask people to do is pause and stop buying what you're being given on the internet, because it's a marketing machine and it's a lot of hype. As Karen touched on, everything is designed to sell you something. And you'll be given a boatload of information, and then all of a sudden there's like a switch. Oh yeah, there's this great science information, and oh, and here's our product. But wait a minute, how did you make that leap? Because what you're talking about sounds great, but then your product, where's the valid information pertaining to your product? And so there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of gimmicks, and I tell people, save your money, because most supplements are not doing what they're claiming that they're doing. And so I'm here to say, let's use our body wisdom and intuition. And so there's a lot of issues with the food supply. So what can you do to start inputting cleaner nutrition? So my thing is, like I do on Saturdays, try to find a local farmer's market and go establish a relationship with those local farmers, because they are doing some pretty good things. I'm here in Arizona, and thank God it's only like a mile and a half down the road, but those farmers, you can just look at the produce and there's something viable about it. And when I eat it, you know, like I just had strawberries 2 weeks ago. There's a resonance. When I eat it, my body gets blissed out, okay? So nutrition should be fun and delicious and healthy, and you'll feel it. So listen to your body and stop buying what's being given out there as healthy, because I've seen some people really screw up their health by following a guru or health expert on YouTube, telling them to juice kale and doing all these green smoothies, and some people have literally wrecked their health by following what are supposedly deemed healthy practices. So the first thing is, try to find heirloom produce at a farmer's market. The second thing you can do is actually grow your own. You can actually grow your own produce in wooden boxes. It's very simple and low cost. And you can at least have maybe 5 or 6 varieties of vegetables that you can start inputting for yourself. The third thing you can do is maybe look around or ask. There's always going to be some people in your neighborhood that are growing their own stuff. Maybe you can barter. You can barter services for produce, but we need to start inputting a higher input of nutrition, especially us conscious people. We need higher frequency nutrition to support our genetic structure. We are higher vibe beings, and if we're going to go be models, We need to exemplify that. We need to radiate a high field, okay? And when I walk into a room, people feel my vibe. Why? Because I pack a punch, because I know how to take care of my body. But the issue I see is too many people are going for the money, career, and and I see a lot of people overweight and low vibe. We need to pump up the energy, so to speak. And so what I say is there's other things you can do to start inputting nutrition is, try to go for fermented foods. Fermented foods have more viable nutrition. So sauerkraut is actually one of the greatest. Sauerkraut, fermented kefir, coconut. There's coconut kefirs, and then you can ferment your own. I make my own body elixir. It's with fermented bacteria, and it tastes great. And when you drink it, actually, I don't even need to drink my fermented drink. I can hold it in my hand, and my whole body radiates with energy. So that's what it is we're looking for high viable information to give to our bodies to support us. And sometimes you don't even need to ingest nutrition if it's viable. When I go to the health food store, there's not much radiating in that store. Okay, even though it's organic, I think we really need to start questioning. We need to use a higher consciousness, and if we're going to go out and be the great beings that we are, we need to be healthy. We need to have life force. There's a lot of people doing, trying to meditate and manifest, better outcomes. I think we are already the attractor factor. Let's increase our vibe so we put out a bigger field to the universe, because when you're happy and healthy and joyful, those vibes go out to the universe, and you're going to automatically ripple back and attract easier than trying to, because I see a lot of people efforting, and if you're efforting, I think you're putting out a vibe to the universe that you lack. Kind of like what Karen was saying, to use the word want is actually, if you look at the true definition, it actually means to lack. So I would say let's not want anything, let's go and be our radiant selves. When we walk into a room, we can impact people with our vibration. We don't have to say a word. Every time you sit next to someone, you have an opportunity right there to uplift their frequency just by being fit, healthy, and radiant. It's very powerful. And so the one other piece that I want to introduce that is lacking in the health arena is how are we using our consciousness? Because your consciousness is the greatest creator of your health. How are you taking life in? Because most people, and especially in this country, we've been programmed for drama and complexity and go, 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 go. That produces stress, and your body's like in this rigid, stressful mode. When you're like that, your chi can't move through your body. Your energy, your life force can't flow up and down your body. And so you develop blockages in your meridians. And that constricts you, that impairs your digestion, that impairs nerve communication. So I would say, how are you using your consciousness? Because that is the greatest producer of your health. And you would be boggled if you understand that your mind and your consciousness can actually uplift your energy just by having a thought, I'm energized, I feel radiant, I'm great, I'm young. But in this country, oh my God, it's like we have all these paradigms and all these crazy ideas that I say we need to simplify, we need to go back to nature. And what I can recommend is, if you really want to feel awesome, just go out in nature and lay in the grass. If you have a yard, lay face first in the grass and breathe that in. Just sit there for 30 minutes. I guarantee you that's the greatest therapy ever. I go to the desert and I sit on the rock, and that's my bliss. 30 minutes and I'm charged. But we conscious people need to input these frequencies that come outside of nutrition. We need to get in touch with Mother Earth. We need to be in the sun. We need to breathe, do deep breathing, because breathing is one of your greatest energizers. And most people don't do it. All these things are free, and people don't do it. They think it's about this magic product and this magic diet. Oh boy. And I look out there and go, really, where's the proof? So for me let's get back to the simplistic, basic, holistic principles, which is energizing our bodies using natural means, purely heirloom foods. Let's get connected with Mother Earth. Let's take in some sun. These are all viable sources of energy, and most people aren't doing it. I live in Arizona, and people go, especially in the summertime because it's pretty hot, people go veg out in the air conditioning all summer, and I'm like, what? I go out, whether it's 115 or 120, I'm outside hiking, laying on rocks, because it gives me life force. If I can't be fully charged, how can I go serve my mission? So I will leave you with an invitation, okay? And that is, we as a humanity right now, we have an opportunity to leave a legacy for this planet. I'm inviting you to help me to leave a legacy for this planet, because if we don't, it's not going to be pretty in the next 50 years. So I'm asking you to reconsider how you're going about your health and what you're putting in, on, and around your body, because it's all about life force. Life force is the holy grail, and it will uplift you to dimensions unknown, beyond attracting and meditation, all this. Your life force, your health is your link to evolution. Let's band together. Let's start viewing our bodies as a sacred temple, and let's knock this show outside the galaxy. Let's uplift people with health. Health is your foundation. And without health, we're not going anywhere. So my invitation is, let's be high vibe beings and go out and serve the world. And you won't have to say a word. You can walk into a room and uplift someone. I do it all the time. I walk into a room and people just look at me like, wow. And I'm not saying anything, but they know, they feel my vibe. So that is my message. I could go on and on and on, but I would like to keep it simplistic today. So.
Wow, that was awesome. You know, really appreciate your talk. I think you have definitely uplifted us all by your vibration, even in this virtual space, and I could see it all over the chat. So thank you. You know, we do have some extra time, and so if anybody has questions for Rino, or for Stephen, or for Karen, this is a great time to chat that in right now. Even if you're watching the replay, you can go ahead and comment your questions to them, and I will be sure that they see these questions. So while I'm waiting for your questions, I would just make a brief mention about who we are as a group. We are the Authentic Business Community. Those of you who are the speakers who are here are all members of the Authentic Business Community. We like to call it ABC. And we are a community, a tribe of business owners and messengers, you might say, who are yearning and working joyfully to create what I call our true livelihood, the work that we are meant to do on this earth, and to earn a livelihood from sharing the goodness there. And if you are interested in the Authentic Business Community, our website is www.authenticbusinesscommunity.com. We actually currently have room for 5 more members. We just launched recently, and there's a maximum number of people we can take, and there's just room for 5 more. So if you're interested in joining us, go to the website, take a look, and you might consider applying. And as a member of the ABC, you will get a chance to also present here in the Wisdom Hour on a somewhat regular basis. We have one. I'm planning to have one every month. As you can see, this has been powerful, and you're going to get an amazing variety of wisdom over the coming months through the members of ABC. So, and there are others in the chat who are also members of ABC. So thank you so much. Let's see here. So there is a question, and so if I didn't get to your question, please feel free to post it again. I do see one question here from Nav. Nav has a question for Rino. Do you have any tips for building an indoor garden in a small space where the weather is only about 40 degrees for 6 months of the year? And I think that's probably a pretty common question for a lot of us who are going to be watching.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Arizona. I'm in a condo, so for me it's a challenge. I have a balcony that I go, but I'm actually going to start producing produce via aquaponics. And aquaponics is a very efficient system. It's actually more efficient than hydroponics. And aquaponics just works with a little pump, and it keeps pumping the water up and down this little system. And you can grow a lot of vegetation within a small little unit. And they do have units available for sale. I think I'm trying to think of the company, Juice Plus. Juice Plus has a product where you could purchase, and they have a monthly plan on it, so you could purchase the units, and it's basically you set it up, and it's very simple. It's very low maintenance, and it works with just a liquid medium, and you put the plants in the little tubes, and it grows, and supposedly people are having great results. Because what I see is the soil farming is labor intensive, it's high carbon footprint, and you only get a small return for the amount of space, and so you also have a season. With aquaponics, you can grow year round. So that's what I'm going to start exploring and investing in eventually. I want to have huge solar greenhouses with aquaponic systems, and I want to make that food available because it's horrendous what's going on in this country, and I can get into the stuff going on behind the scenes. That's not the time or place for this call, but there's a lot of things going on in the food industry most people are not aware of. And so, and especially the organic. So I would ask, start growing your own stuff, go to farmer's market, ask around, and start exploring with either a hydroponics or aquaponics, because it's very efficient. It saves a lot of resources. So.
Excellent, wonderful. So in our last couple of minutes, what I would love to do is actually allow each of you speakers to share any final message for this hour that you'd like to share. And in fact, there's a question here. Rino, you can speak to that or anything else you want to say. Karen actually says, Rino, what is your background and how did you get into this? So maybe we can hear from each of you speakers for another 1 or 2 minutes.
Okay. I was always into health ever since I was a child. I was making my own Bisquick pancakes at 4 and 5. I've always been into nutrition, making fun stuff. But what happened is, long story short, I wound up getting chronically sick a number of years back. And I worked out 5 days a week. I was into healthy eating, and I was like, wait, what's going on here? And so I started awakening to the fact that emotionally and mentally, I had things going on. I didn't grow up in a family where I could express myself, so I was bottled up and holding on to a lot of emotional stuff. And it's the way I was using my consciousness. So it wrecked my health, and that's what set me on a mission. I healed myself, but then I saw that a lot of people have deep emotional, mental issues, even with weight gain and symptoms or health conditions. So there's always an emotional, subconscious thing going on deep inside that we're not dealing with, and that puts strain on your body, doesn't allow your body to function well. But that's how I got into it. Then basically, I'm an intuitive, so I actually learned most of my stuff. It gets downloaded. All my books I wrote as a download. It's not something I desired to. It's not an intention. I said, I'm going to write this book on this topic. It would just come, and I would write, and then I would learn most of my information through reading my own books, which is kind of interesting. So I got into the health field just because I had some health things going on, and I corrected it. And then my mission is to help people, because I see a lot of the inaccuracies out there, and people are, I call it the hamster wheel. They're trying, but they're not going anywhere. So I want to set the record straight and present a new way of going at nutrition, but also the way we view our bodies.
Awesome. And Rino, do you have something? Where can people find you, or do you have something to share?
You can go to my website at rinosoriano.com. That's R-I-N-O. Soriano is S as in Sam, O-R-I-A-N-O.com. I have a bunch of free goodies on there. I have a few downloads that are instant, but I do also offer a free discovery session with people who are looking at, I'll give you 45 minutes, and sometimes it's just a few little tips can make a big difference in the long term. So I'm here to assist people, and kind of like with Karen, I'm not for the money. I'm here to empower people. We need to get health corrected because there are epidemics. My mission is to impact people so they actually get shifts. So if you go to my website, bunch of free goodies, and I just created a new free 5 energy boosters. They call it 5 abundant energy boosters, and that's at rinosoriano.com/abundant-energy-boosters-. And so you can go there, and there's a form you can fill out, and it gives it to them free. It'll instantly download for them. So
excellent. Yeah, and I will include that link in the notes of the video as well.
Okay.
Thanks, Rino. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, and let's see here. Okay, great. Stephen, anything you'd like to share as we adjourn?
It really strikes me about this community and this presentation today by all of us is that we're all integrating so much of the same thing. It's all about higher vibration. And I'm just awed by the divine order in which we all presented and what we presented on today, because it hits on all of these really key points in major areas, from body to mind, spirit, source, and we all just wrapped it together in a package and have given it away with great love and enthusiasm. So I just wanted to note that. I noticed that, and that it's I'm so happy to be a part of it today.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephen. Great to have you here. All right, and Karen, is there anything that's coming to you to share as we close up?
I saw Nav so graciously asked me about my monthly income. so I'll share. Yeah, this is part of why I wrote this topic, is enough is enough, because for many years I made really great money, and the last 2 years the first year I kind of took a sabbatical. I was like, oh, I'm gonna just study human design. All I had energy for was studying human design. So I was just like, okay, life, I'm just going to do this and see what happens. And I was supported in, I kind of had a few gigs where I would speak and sell my stuff. And I did really well, a bunch of money at once, and then kind of lived off that. And then, so that's kind of what I've been doing for 2 years. And then now, you know, what part of working with George is kind of tearing down all of the structures of my old business and how it was operating, because, you know, my monthly expenses were about $4,000 a month. And, you know, working with George, we went through my credit card statement and just started eliminating things. And so I'm in the process of kind of simplifying, you know, in terms of what my actual expenses are, and then creating new offerings. So, you know, my current monthly income isn't something to write home about, but at the same time, I'm enough. Like I'm just being provided for. So there's no fear, you know, even though, you know, on the surface, it's kind of like a reordering from, you know, an old way to a new way, and there's a transition period. But in that, I'm still supported. So there's, you know, my mind might look at my, you know, my current financials and freak out and be like, oh my God, you know, but the deeper truth, there absolutely is no lack, and it's all working how it should be working. So that's my answer to you.
Beautiful. And that's a great way for us to complete. So thank you so much for being here, Karen, Stephen, Rino, and Halal, for your supportive presence as well. And for everybody who was able to be with us live and chatting. Thank you in the Footsteps of Wisdom, which is Cindy Bell's. Nav, thank you, Liz, Meryl, and so many others. I saw Jason was there, and our own speakers were chatting in there as well. And I'm sorry if I didn't mention your name. There's so many others in there. So our next Wisdom Hour date has already been set, which is Friday, October 14th at the same time, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. So I hope you can join us then. Stay in touch on the event page. You can, if you selected that you're going to this Wisdom Hour in our event page, I'll be sure to invite you to our next one as well, so you can be notified there. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and remember the messages that were shared today. You can watch this again. I encourage you to. You want to get an uplift and a coming back to the truth, perhaps a deeper truth of what we're about, what life is about. So with that, I'm going to sign off here. Thank you again so much for the speakers and for the audience that were able to be here today. Thank you, everyone. And I'm just going to mute all the speakers so that we can all say goodbye. Actually, you can unmute yourselves. It might be a little more efficient there.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. So much fun. Mwah.
Bye.
Ciao.
Take care.
Ciao, ciao.